Hello everyone. How are you this Friday afternoon? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us here at the TEFL org for our Friday webinar. My name is Carl and I'm here to answer any questions you might have about teaching English as a foreign language. I am one of the tutors here at TEFL org. I do the practical courses in Northern Ireland. So I did one a couple of weeks ago and I absolutely enjoyed being back. We're ready. We're getting people trained up and we're getting people teaching around the world. So please say hello in the chat. I can see some people saying hello already. Hello, Dominic, Jill, Cynthia, Katie, Alan, Chris, Rianne. Hello, everybody. Let us know where you are in the world as well. That would be fantastic. As I said, I'm here in Northern Ireland. But I have been lucky enough to work as a teacher for about 20 years in various places around the world. I've worked in Vietnam, in China. I've worked in Sri Lanka, Iraq for a bit, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan. I've worked in the UK, in many places around the UK and Ireland. I've also worked in Spain and Italy. And now I work as a trainer here at the TEFL org. I'm also an online teacher and I'm an examiner in English as a foreign language. So please, if you've got any questions at all about teaching English as a foreign language, put them in the chat and myself, Carl, will answer them for you. Or if not, Alan, who is monitoring the chat, will put in some very helpful links, probably much more quickly than I can answer them on the screen. So hello, Stephen in Lisbon, Alan in Toronto, Amy, hola, Amy, Calvin in Manchester, Debbie in England, Trick Temple, what an interesting name. It's like a rapper's name or something. In Israel, Manar in New Jersey, Jill in Leeds, Italy, Katrina, in Ukraine. There we go. Right, so the topic of this is tech and software must-haves. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences teaching online. I've worked for companies teaching online, mainly universities, but I worked as an independent teacher and I still do work as an independent teacher where I find my own students and I teach them online. I'm going to talk a lot about what I use. Now, if you are an online teacher, please put any comments in the chat. It's just, this could be my experience. A lot of it is quite personalized to me. But if you do have any experience or any questions, I can already see Chris has put a question in there about a headset, and I'm going to talk about headsets in a bit. Then, just please put them in there. Alan, can we get the PowerPoint going? Is that possible now? Do you think? Yeah, perfect. So tech and software must-haves. So the first thing that I want to really emphasize in this is think of your students. Okay. When you're thinking about what software you need, think about your students. Don't think because you want it necessarily, and it might make your life easier, but think about what your students are going to use. Okay. And in my experience from teaching online for sort of 5 or 6 years now, most students, they don't like it if I try and give them something new to use. Now, this has changed a bit in the COVID times. I have found that students are a bit more open to using new types of software. But the majority of students, if I say to them, okay, for example, can you download Zoom? Oh, I use Skype a lot. I like Skype. Can we use Skype? They don't like to sort of go down the route of trying to use something that's new. So just keep that in mind. I would say don't try and force tech onto the students. All right. And the reason is there's some limitations to the student side of things. Okay. The first is their location. So especially if they're in a country where there might be firewalls that restrict some of the software they can use. If you're quite set on using a certain type of software and they can't in their country, you're already blocked. You've already got a block there. You've already got something that's stopping you with the software you want to use. Okay. So the other thing is to be aware of is maybe their internet speed where they are. They might not be somewhere where they've got quite quick internet. So just be a bit aware of where they are and their location. All right. Also be aware of students' hardware. I get so many students wanting to learn English on their mobile phone. Okay. They contact me and they say to me, oh, I want to pay you. You're fantastic. I've heard you're great. You're brilliant. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So this is what we'll do. We'll, download Zoom and we'll do, okay, yeah, fine. But I'll download it on my phone in an app. And you're like, no, is there any chance you could use a PC? It's just better to use a PC because then that way I can show you different windows and that kind of thing. Oh, I don't have a PC. And you're like, okay, all right. I get you'd be surprised how many students I get like that. So if a student contacts you, try and think about what hardware they've got, because what hardware they have might change the sort of software that you use. Okay. Try and get them, if they can, onto a PC. Not always possible, but try and get them onto a PC. The other thing to be aware of is the technological ability of many students. I am constantly surprised about how technologically limited some skills are. So, for example, downloading software onto a PC can take a while to get through that. Being able to get them to sort of change through different windows, it can be a struggle. Okay, so if you're introducing sort of new software that you think is fantastic, that you've read is amazing, I'm not saying don't use it, but just be aware that whether your students can use it. Okay, and I'm going to talk a bit more about what software to use as we go on. Okay. But just be aware of these things when a student contacts you, or if you're an independent student an independent teacher looking for students, just be aware of, what ones you can use that they can also use. All right. Be prepared to be flexible with the technology, the software I'm mainly talking about here. Hardware, you don't really need to have like loads of different devices around, but be very aware of being flexible enough to change software to suit your students within a certain amount. I'm not saying you have to use a different package all the time, but just be aware that you might have to have a couple of choices for them. All right. So first I'm going to talk about the hardware requirements. And I can see there's some questions coming in already about best platforms and also about headsets. So first of all, I'll talk about the hardware that's needed. All right. For me, the key thing is your internet connection that you have. Don't let your internet connection let down your connection to the student the way you teach. Okay. The connection at their end might be poor if they're in some countries. Okay. It's a fact. I do Zoom lessons with China and the connection goes very often. All right. Same with, even if I'm phoning Japan or, places which are sort of seen as having quite fast internet connections, they struggle sometimes. So make sure if you're going to spend money on anything, if you're going to check out anything, get a new internet connection that if you've got a choice of speeds and it's only a couple of pound extra a month to go a bit faster, if I was you, I would do that. Okay. And the other thing as well is get a wired connection. Don't use the Wi-Fi, get a wired connection. You'd be surprised how much that makes a difference to the speed. Use a PC, a personal computer, all right? Don't use an iPad Pro. Don't use an Android tablet, okay? Listen, Macs I'm sure are great, but I do work for some companies who say you've got to have a Windows PC. Now, I know you can run Windows stuff on Macs, but I do get quite often requests that say, right, we would like you to use this Windows PC browser or something like that. And now, there are questions about how would they know, but that's something that I get asked quite a bit. So just, if I was you, if you're going to look to buy something, use a PC. I would recommend use a desktop. Unless you sort of want to have the freedom of a laptop, I would say use a desktop. Now, if you are using a laptop, One thing I would suggest that you might want to spend a couple of quid on is an external webcam that you can fit on the monitor, like I am looking at you now, or you could maybe get it in an angle that you want it to go at to maybe sort of make yourself look a bit more professional if you want to. The thing is here, getting the camera eye level is good. If you're down looking at a laptop, sometimes you can be looking down a bit like that, which can cause issues. It's not so nice, not so natural. Get eye line if you can by using an external camera. Even if your laptop has a camera that's fantastic, try and get it at a height that it's eye level. All right, think about an external camera. Now, we've got a question about headsets. I use this Logitech headset. Okay, it looks big, and some people do laugh and go, haha, are you going to play World of Warcraft with that? And I go, yes, of course. I've got no idea what World of Warcraft is, but I use a Logitech, I think this was 25 pounds, built-in microphone, nice headphones that sit nicely on the ears. I think they work absolutely fine. Anything that's sort of a gaming one works. Personally, I don't like the headphones that you can't really see that sit in there. All right. So I have one of those. Before that, I had another one which was even cheaper than that, but it started to fall apart. They last for me about 2 or 3 years because I use them quite a lot and I'm always adjusting them, that kind of thing. So I think any sort of gaming headset works pretty well. I like the Logitech ones. There might be better ones out there, but I think they work pretty well. Okay. I do also have an external microphone, which is what I'm talking to you on at the moment. But I do that for YouTube videos. I don't think you need it. I think for actually talking to students one-on-one, headsets, microphones are best. Okay. I also work for a company where they really insist on you having headsets that you can use, that you can see. I don't know why they do that, but they don't allow their teachers to work with in-ear headphones. So I would get ones that are quite big and you can see. You might look a bit silly. Somebody says I look like Britney Spears. Maybe. I don't know what to say about that. Hit me baby one more time. But yes, that's what the ones that I like. I would really recommend that you go down the 2-screen route if you can. If you've got a laptop, just buy one monitor. Like you can pick up monitors for 60, 70 quid. I think it's just really useful. Why? Because you can have on one screen a document which you can type in and use and put in questions, whatever it is you're going to do. And I'll talk software in a minute. And on the other screen, you've got your student in front of you. So you can see them and you can also see the thing that they're using. I think 2 screens makes your life a lot more easy. That's what I think. If you've got a desktop computer, just buy 2 monitors. I have 2 here. I think it's fantastic. I think it works really well. Software. I'm going to talk about spending money on software. I don't think you need to spend any money on software. Okay. I personally use no software which I either don't already have, such as the Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, that kind of thing. Yes, you have to pay for that. I do know. But I've also used the Google versions of this, and I use that Google versions a lot. Okay. Don't go spending money on anything flashy that you think will really help for you. Most tools I use are free, and most you probably already have. Okay, so don't do anything where the students have to pay, or don't do anything where I think it eats into your hourly profits. Yeah, use the Google Docs, use the free version of Zoom. I really don't think, unless you're doing big group lessons, and if you're in a position where you're offering big group lessons as an independent teacher, or if you're working for a company and they're making you do group lessons, I think that's the only reason to pay for Zoom. If you're doing one-on-ones, I don't think you need to pay for the long Zoom, okay, the expensive Zoom. You might get to a position if you're building up your own clientele, or if you're getting lots of work coming in, where you want to pay for the paid Zoom for some of the extra features, you know, like things like the recordings and the longer lessons and the group lessons. But I really don't think you need to pay for the premium Zoom. I've in fact cancelled my monthly premium Zoom. All right. Yeah, that's what I think. Just use free versions. Right. My basic setup that I teach all my lessons with is a Windows desktop PC. It's a big machine that's over there, which I built myself actually, but I'm pretty sure, I think I built it for about £400 about 6 or 7 years ago. Slowing down a little bit now. I'm thinking of building another one, but I'm pretty sure if you bought like a £500 desktop PC, that would be good enough. I don't think you need to have any sort of flash. Now, if you want to go down the laptop route, fine. But my setup is to use a desktop PC. I have a Zoom account and I do most of my lessons on Zoom. I send out the students links, and I use things like the whiteboard. I use the share screen function. I use the chat function, all within Zoom. That's what I do. Okay, I use that. However, if a student says to me, no, I don't want to do Zoom, or my parents say I have to use Skype, that's quite a big one. Even if they're adults, my parents say I've got to use Skype. I would do that if that's what they want. Zoom can get around a lot of firewalls. There are different websites you can use to get Zoom. Like Zoom, the company Zoom allow different websites for Chinese people to access. So you might need to go down that route. Skype is very touch and go with China. Some students do use it, but I find that most students don't. They're quite happy using Zoom. But I'm happy to use Skype if students do want this. Why limit yourself? That's what I would say. Don't force it on them. The functions are pretty much the same. I use Google Documents a lot, a shared document. So for every student, I have their own individual student document. I send them a link. I allow them to edit. They're typing in it. I'm copying and pasting things in it. We're doing error correction in it. We're doing the stages of a lesson in a Google Doc. It's fine. They can then use that Google Doc later to revise. You can set them homework. They can then type that in the evening afterwards. It stays there. It doesn't take up room on your computer. I find Google Docs are fantastic. You can also use Microsoft Word online. However, personally, I use Google Docs. Unless they can't access Google Docs, then I'll use Word Docs. Okay. I use a Google Drive, a Google Shared Drive. I very often get I get a very each student gets their own folder. I store stuff in it. Like if I'm using MP3s, I'll store stuff in there. If they want some PDFs of some activities, I store those in there. Shared Google Drive. That's what I use. Google Docs, Google Drive. I use a lot of PDFs. I use. What's the right word there? I use legally. I don't know what I'm trying to dig myself in a hole there. I use legally PDFs from websites such as One Stop English, for example. Like that a lot. And I use a PDF reader. I show that on the screen. It's free. PDF readers don't cost you anything. Share them on one screen. Students look at it. And they type the answers into a shared Google Doc, something like that. Use a PDF reader. And as I said, I use the Microsoft ones as well. I go with a lot with what the student says. If a student says, oh, I'm really used to using Microsoft Online, fine. No problem at all with me to use Microsoft Online. If they don't like, oh, I don't like Microsoft Online, fine. Let's use Google. Fantastic. Microsoft have their own version of OneDrive. I've got different accounts. Absolutely fine. I think it works really well. Okay. Now, if you are an independent teacher and you're trying to get, you're trying to set yourself up to find your own students, all right? One thing, extra things that you might need is some way of collecting payment. Now, I use PayPal a lot. People don't like PayPal And some teachers say to me, oh, I don't like PayPal because there's a lot of fees. Correct. There are fees, and there are other ones where the fees are cheaper. However, first of all, students like using PayPal. It works well. It's pretty efficient. Students are happy to give money on PayPal. If I introduce other ones where the fees were slightly less, they don't tend to like them so much. And I've had students who refuse to use those other ones and will only use PayPal. However, PayPal doesn't work all around the world. I know that. PayPal is a little bit limited with some countries. So again, you've got to be flexible. So you might use something like Skrill. You might use something like Pioneer. You might use something like Stripe, maybe, and you can sort of embed some of these into a website. I've personally not used those ones. I use PayPal pretty much for all of them. Put in the chat, please, if you'll use any of these. But those are ones that you might want to think about. Okay, I factor the fees into my hourly rate. So it's quite an important part of when you think of how much money to charge your students, or if the company is paying you to work for them, find out how they're going to use it. Are you going to have a lot of fees? I factor it in there, okay? But again, use what your students can use. So if you get a student contacting you from Kazakhstan, look online, can they use PayPal in Kazakhstan? Perfect, fantastic, use PayPal. Can't use that? Okay, can they use Skrill or just do your research at all? Because what you'd be surprised, if you're in the UK or you're in Australia or you're in America, probably more things are going to be open to you than's open to them. So use your research of what they're going to do, okay? Now, if you're going to be an independent teacher, you're going to want to build your own website. The way I've built my website is through using WordPress. WordPress takes a little bit of getting used to, but it works well. You've got lots and lots of functionality you can do. I can take payments through my website. I can link it up with my calendar so students can schedule a time. You can, get contact forms. You can do all sorts of things from your website if you're using WordPress. If you're going to be in this for the long haul, learn WordPress. It will help you. You'll need to have a hosting company for your website. I change depending on the deals that I find. I'm happy to change my hosting company. So just do some research. Don't just choose the one that comes at the top of Google. Do some research and look for the ones. You probably don't need a huge database. You don't need to pay for a huge database. What you just need one is efficient and will probably, the monthly fee is quite low. You're going to need some sort of marketing tools, okay, to help you if you're going to set up yourself independently. I use something called MailChimp. Works really well. I send out emails through that. The students can put in their details on my website using WordPress and it goes out to them. MailChimp is free or very low cost, but it works pretty well at getting business and getting repeated business in. One other piece of software that you might want to use for your marketing is something called Canva. Generally, it's something to sort of make your websites, make your teaching look pretty. You can get nice little animations, that kind of thing in. Something to look in is Canva. So those are the sort of things that you might want to do if you're going to set yourself up as an independent teacher. Some other useful websites, and this is not just for independent teachers. This could also be for people that are employed by a company. And if you're employed by a company, sometimes they'll get you to use certain software. They'll get you to use certain websites to contact them. But some companies as well, they just say, right, we're going to give you £20-30 an hour, do whatever you want to do with them. We'll just find the students. So it's, it does depend on what you want to do. I love vocabulary.com. It's a fantastic piece of vocabulary learning websites. If you want to improve your English yourself, get on vocabulary.com. Okay. Basically, what does it do is you go on there and you answer some questions and about vocabulary. So for example, it'll give you a word and it'll give you 4 definitions. You choose the best definition. If you get it right or if you get it wrong, if you get it correct, then the next word is slightly more difficult than the word before, and carries on, and you get a couple right and it boosts up the level. You get wrong, it moves the level down. So the website adapts to your student. It's a fantastic way of them learning vocabulary. It's also a fantastic way of giving some homework. It's also because they can download it on an app on their phone. They can just go on a website and do it. You can have leaderboards. You upload your own words. So for example, if you've just covered a lesson on some sort of abstract nouns, you could input the abstract nouns into the website, into a list. You send the link to the student. They look at it. They revise the ones you've done. It can also be used as an extra incentive to get students onto your website. Quite easy to set up, and you say something like, okay, come join my group. You will also get an exclusive link to vocabulary.com's most common words in English. Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Look, I get this for free. Vocabulary.com is free until you get to quite big numbers. Then then you have to pay for it. But I think, again, the free version is fantastic. Another piece of software that I use a lot is, well, I say software, they're inbuilt into a web browser, is flipgrid.com. Really good one. Basically, you can record a little message yourself, or you can put a YouTube video up, or you can write something, whatever you want, or you can put a picture up, and the students record themselves making a message about that. So you could start a discussion question, say, okay, like talk for 2 minutes about your favorite holiday. That's it. You upload that to a website. You send that link to your student. They then have a link to record themselves talking for 2 minutes about their favorite holiday. You can then watch it. You can mark it. You could, monitor their pronunciation. You can monitor their fluency, all this kind of thing. All right. And you can give feedback. It's also great for peer work. If you've got 2 students, you can get them sort of recording discussions with each other. If you've got more than 2, amazing. You can get the students can log in and look at each other's. But they're private, so don't worry. Not anyone can do this. Only the people that you send the link to can do this. But it's really good for monitoring speaking. Go on flipgrid.com, use vocabulary.com. I really recommend that you get on those ones. Next thing that you might want to think about, and I'm not a big fan of these. Please let me know. I can see some people already put some comments in there. But please let me know if you've used any of these learning management systems and change my mind. Learning management systems is basically where they bring everything together in one place. So you might do your live lessons through this learning management system. You might set the homework through there. They might upload the assignments through it. They might keep track, all that kind of thing. But they bring everything together in one place. Okay, all sort of combined. And I think they are good. The best thing about them is they're very good for setting assignments for your students, for them to type into it, or for whatever you want to, whatever your assignment is. And you can log their progress pretty well by giving them some grades, that kind of thing. However, I think it works better with groups. If you've got a group, if you're going to be teaching 10, 15 students or higher than that, I think you might want to use learning management systems. I think they help you to keep track of lots of things. But if you're using one-on-ones or small groups, I think all you really need to do is a Google document, and you share that link and you type everything through that. Okay. Google Classroom and Edmodo are the most used ones there. Please change my mind if you don't like them. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Microsoft Teams is another one. That's also very common way to use as well. I should have said Microsoft Teams for sure. Thank you, Vicente, for putting that in the chat for me there. That's definitely another one you can use. But I personally am not a big fan of them. That's mainly because I teach very small 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 classes. I don't like to teach the big groups. But when I've worked for universities, they have made me use Google Classroom. They have, in fact, let me use Microsoft Teams. They've also told me to use something called Blackboard, but you have to pay for Blackboard. So that's learning management systems. Overall, don't complicate the tech that you're going to use. Okay. use the tools in Zoom, use the tools in Skype, especially when you're first starting, okay? And it might be that you're going to work for a company, they tell you to use something specific, okay, fine. But if you're going to be using, if you're going to be doing finding your own students, just use the tools you can use Zoom and Skype. You know, get used to being really good at doing Zoom or Skype. Be a really good Zoom and Skype user. Be really good at sharing your screen. This week I made a big boo-boo with sharing the screen for one company that I work for. I'm waiting to be told off for it. But I think I'm really good at sharing the screen. I'm pretty good at sharing the screen. You know, get ready to be the whiz at sharing the correct window, that kind of thing. Use the whiteboard option that they have in Zoom. Use the whiteboard option that they have in Skype to write vocabulary, to draw pictures, to get students writing on it. Don't be afraid for them to use it. Keep it all within one program. You'll be surprised how quickly they sort of get the hang of it if it stays within one program. Use shared documents to mark students' work. Use a shared document to keep a record of what they're doing so that they can see how they're progressing. Okay, get your Zoom up, get one shared document up, and away you go. And use the free shared drives. Don't pay for Dropbox or anything like that that's really expensive. You know, use the free ones. Stay on top of it. If you get too big, can you download them? If you're running out of storage, could you get students to share some of the files? Something like that. That's me done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, let me just go back to some of these questions. I hope that was interesting. I hope that was useful for a lot of you. Please, any questions you have about tech in teaching, or any questions you have about teaching English as a foreign language in general, please put them in the chat now. Yeah, Chris, best headset. I think we've sort of gone through that one. You don't have to spend an absolute fortune on headsets. £20-30 I think is as much as I'm quite happy with spending, you know. Trish Temple, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. Right, Annie, hello. What's the best platform for one-to-one business students? And I can see you on LinkedIn. Fantastic way of finding business English students, LinkedIn. Zoom, I think is the best. I think that most businessmen, business ladies, business people have been using Zoom recently, and they know they know how to use it well. Won't take you up a huge amount of time in teaching them how to use it. That's something you've got to be aware of. You've also got to be a teacher of tech a lot of the time. So you've got to be able to teach them to go, you know, move your mouse to the top, that's it. Then something will appear, or click on this thing. So I think Zoom, shared document, go for it. That's what I think, Annie. I don't think you need to have anything too flashy. Business English students, go for that. Definitely. I hope it works out for you, Annie. Good for you. FE.W. To attend a virtual session, I'm wondering if you need to have a Zoom account. No, I don't think you personally need to have a Zoom account. I think if you just send them the link, they can access it through their browser, or they can access it. They might download the software. I don't think the students need to have a Zoom account. No, I don't think they do to be able to get the link. I think, though, try and get them to do that. It will make your life a bit more easier in terms of scheduling, if you're going to have repeat students, that kind of thing. All right. They don't need to have a Zoom account, but I think that's generally not a problem with me. If you sort of say to them, okay, do Zoom. I think Zoom has an option to log in with Facebook. I think Zoom has an option to log in with Google. They tend to use that, and they're in pretty easily. Effie, good luck. Dominic, yes, a laptop stand definitely is something you can do. The problem I have with a laptop stand, and again, Dominic, tell me if I'm wrong, is that if I need to type, I'm sort of up here as well if I'm trying to get it at eye level. I like to have the camera at eye level. I don't like it when it's facing up like that. That's just me. No, I can't get it at the right eye level. Thank you, Sophia, for telling me that I remind you of Brittany. Alan, as a teacher, why use a headset at all? Right now, your video and audio are perfect. Thank you. Couple of reasons why on YouTube videos, yes, I can use my microphone and I think it works pretty well. Couple of reasons though why I like to use a headset is I don't want the rest of my family listening to my lessons a lot of the time. And if I don't have a headset on, I've got to have the speakers on. That's the first reason. The second reason is that I find it quite easier to mute. Sometimes I want to mute myself. This microphone, this big microphone, studio microphone, doesn't have a mute function. You can get them with mute functions, but this one, if I just mute, I can mute it by just putting it up like that. My old one, I had a little button that I could push to mute it. Worked fine. Okay. So I like the option to mute. I also like the option to be able to hear the students well. The other reason is that companies tell you to buy one. Okay. Rebecca, hello. You're teaching students online in China, your own business. Woohoo! Congratulations. Zoom keeps crashing on me during my lessons. What do I suggest? Right. I've always had the problem with any piece of software that it crashes. Now, look, if you can see if Skype works better, go for it. You know, you might be better off something like Microsoft Teams. I've used Microsoft Teams to talk to China. It's gone pretty well. Zoom does crash, but I tend to find they all at some point will crash. Now, if it's crashing every 2 minutes, that is a problem. If you've got an hour's lesson and it's maybe if it's crashing, wait, I should describe what. Tell me more about crashing, Rebecca. As in, your software on your computer is crashing, or the connection is crashing. If the connection's crashing, not a huge amount you can do. If your software is crashing, then you got a problem with your software. You got a problem with your hardware. You might need to fix that. Okay. But I think if the connection's going once or twice in an hour, it's kind of normal. I'm sorry. But I hope it works out for you. Some people are saying Google's great. Google Conversations are amazing, super useful. Okay, great, fantastic. Google Meet. I don't personally like Google Meet, like you say there, Vicente. Cynthia, can you add PayPal to your WordPress site? Yes, you can. You can get payments through your WordPress site for PayPal. Get it quite often. WordPress don't take a fee. No, you can do that. Rebecca, hello. Can you use Microsoft Teams to teach students in China? Yes, I have used Microsoft Teams. I did some work for British University. I do this summer and most of last year during lockdown, where I taught students in Microsoft Teams. Worked pretty well. Yeah, go for it if you can. Yeah, Zoom is easier. Thank you, everybody. Rebecca, for telling me about the Zoom thing. Fantastic. Bang plus 2. Oh, Georgina from Kenya. Hello, Georgina from Kenya. I'm not going to call you Bang plus 2. I'm going to call you Georgina from Kenya, if that's okay. Hello. Hello to you. Please, can you tell us about online safety, privacy, or control that we might need regarding having online students? Okay, so that's a good one. If you're teaching kids, you might want to go if you're in a country where you can get some sort of clearance for yourself to show that you haven't a criminal record, that can help you with getting young kids classes. Because if you show to the parents, look, I am police cleared, they like it. All right. So that's the first thing about online safety. Right. The next thing in terms of, you can put passwords on the Zoom so people can't get in who haven't got the link. You can also set up on Zoom like a waiting room. So people can't just come directly into the conversation. They need to sit on a waiting room and you as the host need to admit them. That can stop people jumping in. It's never happened to me. Never had someone try and get into my classroom who I had no idea who they were. If it has happened to you, please put in the chat. So that's something you can do. You can control on Zoom, and and all of the video call software that you can get have this function. Okay. Privacy. If you're using Google Docs, you can limit who can access the document. Either by anyone with the link can open it, or if you want to go for a higher level of control, you can specify the email addresses and they have to be logged in at their end in order to get it. So there are lots of control that you can do. And if you're going down the route of teaching young learners under 18s, you might want to do that. Adults, I tend to find, don't worry too much about it, but there's definitely things you can do to add layers onto it, Georgina. I hope that answers your question, Georgina. Please tell me if I did not. Alexandra, hello. For learning foreign languages, you found Quizlet. Yes. Padlet and Kahoot, good. Are there any other good programs for creating quizzes and interactive content for students? So, vocabulary.com, you can access quizzes. Right. Quizlet is very good for matching definitions to words, that kind of thing. That's very good for vocabulary learning. Right. Kahoot is where you basically give people a multiple choice type question, and it can be worked because you can put pictures in, you can put lots of things in. I find it takes a lot of time, Alexandra. Now you might be super quick at doing this, but I find it takes a lot of time to do these things. So I don't see the point of spending a long time of making a Kahoot if it's going to be done quite quickly. But if it's something that you can use over and over again, I think it's a good tool, Alexandra. Personally, I prefer just putting it into a shared document. I find copying and pasting works just as well. And use vocabulary.com for my vocabulary work. Alexandra, please tell me why I'm wrong, if I am wrong. David, hello, or David. I'm guessing it's David with that silver surname. Is it common for tutors to work for more than one teaching platform? And is that okay? Absolutely. I work for about 5 different companies. Not all in the same week, over the course of a year. If a company is gonna pay you to be full-time and they're gonna pay you a proper full-time wage, then you might want to think, actually, no, do I also need to work for another one? But I would definitely say when you're starting up, you're new and you're trying to find work with companies, then work for 1 or 2 at the start. Don't blitz by applying to loads at the start. If you see ones that you like, apply to 1 or 2 of them, see how that goes. It can be quite draining teaching online at the start. There's a lot going on. If you've got to prepare your own lessons, that takes time. So just don't overdo yourself, David. Okay, now you might need the money and go for it. I'm sorry. If that's your case, then go for as many as you can. But I think at the start, build up slowly if you can. All right. And definitely work for 2, even 3 companies. Yeah. Okay. Rianne, do I recommend having a separate email account to email students rather than use my personal one? Yes, I do recommend that for sure. I definitely do that. You're probably going to need a benefit of doing it is you quite often get extra storage. If you've got 2 Gmail accounts, for example, you can use one for your own personal storage stuff and one for storing other things to go with the students. So yes, for sure. And the other thing as well is I tend to put like what I'm teaching. So like if I'm teaching listening, carl.listeningteacher@gmail.com, something like that. I definitely would do that one. Okay. Mark, hello. How would you share a calendar for booking in students? So you can use a piece of software, a website called Calendly, I think it is. Alan, tell me if I'm wrong. And I think we actually have some more information about that. Yes, we do. If you go onto our website, Mark, I should have probably said that. Now, I use a plugin on WordPress. So I link WordPress to my website, to my calendar, and I use that. Have I crashed? Is it still going? It's telling me I crashed when I tried to share my screen. Oh no. Am I still there? Alan, tell me if I'm still there. Am I still there? No, 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 no. I don't think I am. Oh no. Have I crashed? I'm still there, Alan. I can't. Alan, tell me on Slack if I'm still there. I can't see. The screen's gone white and it's saying I've not responding. See, this is why you got to have your software going fine. I'm guessing I'm still working. So I would use something called Calendly for booking in students, that kind of thing, and see if that works for you. Okay, Mark. I would go down that route. Okay. Alan, my screen is frozen. If you can get up the next question, that would be fantastic. It's really... if there's any more questions. If there's not any more questions, that might be the good time. Oh, Stephen, hello. What site you mentioned helping you with the PDF prep for lessons? So what I do, Stephen, is I create the... if I'm going to create a PDF and I'm going to use a PDF, I use other companies. One Stop English do fantastic ones. I think many are free, but you can also pay for more. I think that's worth a subscription if you're going to pay for anything. One Stop English. If I'm going to create my own, I create them in Microsoft Word and then I save them as a PDF and then I can do it that way. Okay. That's the site that I recommend that you use. Okay. onestopenglish.com. Thank you, Stephen. Are there any more questions coming up? I'm not so sure if there are. If there aren't any, okay. What a name, Underground Land Clark. Hello. How do I work around international time zones? Right at the start, I would get up super early, and I would work all the hours that most of the Eastern world is awake. I'm in the UK, so if they want to be, quite often people would ask me for lessons at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I would do that 7-8 hours before. I would stay up late or I'd get up early. So that's it. However, now I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I don't have to worry about that. But really, it's up to you, Clark, about, you might want to go after, if that's going to be an issue for you and you don't want to be teaching overnight, something like that, go after students that are in a closer time zone to you. Make sure that your marketing is okay in order to get those ones. So, for example, if you're in Europe, going after Latin American students can be not bad for to stay within your time zone. Going for ones that are quite far east can be a bit of an issue. Okay. How do you work around it? You either get up early or you don't teach them. That's it, Mark. I'm afraid. Sorry, that's it, Clark. I'm afraid. Thank you very much, Clark. I hope you've all enjoyed this session. Please put in the chat if you have. We've done many other videos. So if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and look for some of the other ones we've done. Not just with me. There was a fantastic one with Thomas last week. There's ones with other teachers that teach online where there's like interviews with them and they talk a bit about what they teach and how they teach it. They're really worth looking at. If you are an independent teacher and you're trying to get into it, we've done videos about marketing, how to build your own website, all that kind of thing. So please scroll back and look at it. I would love to show you our website, TEFL.org, where we've got a blog post about 10 tools for online teaching. Alan, if you could put that in the chat maybe for people to look at, that would be fantastic. I'm sorry that I can't at the moment. The irony, hey, of doing a presentation about teaching tech and then the tech doesn't work. Thank you very much for staying with us this week. Hope to see you all again soon. Have a good weekend and look after yourselves. Thanks, everybody. Bye.